I'm good. One in each hand. So, 2 Mountain Dews, ready to rock. Um, so the idea is around the smart hint. So there's a we could pull it up here. The smart hint in question inside of the material design library is the text that shows up in the empty box before you start typing. And then in a lot of the styles, what it does is it actually floats up to the top, which is really nice. The fundamental problem here is in order to do that floating, there's a lot of, as he puts it in here, magic numbers and similar things that are all designed to basically apply some scaling and some offset and move it around and make it look all nice. And it works well a good solid 90% of the time. But there's been a number of bugs that have come up recently that have all been around, well, things don't line up if I've got like this vertical alignment, or if this thing is so big and this thing doesn't line up perfectly with this other bit, and round and round and round. And so rather than fixing the bugs, which Nikolai is amazing at, decided to address the root problem and kind of dive in and do this. And to some degree, a lot of this comes out of the fact that, like, we take it for granted. You add a text box to your WPF app, it's really easy. And if you've got the material design library, it gets styled and it looks decent, right? Right out of the box. Great. And then you start doing stuff with it and turning other features on, and things don't quite line up right. And there's a few things around some of what we have with the material design stuff that makes it a little more challenging. So specifically calls out trying to align things vertically. And then magic number converters, blah, blah, blah. This is the idea here. So if it's not obvious, there's a gray box that's about yay big, right? That's surround. I don't know if that's coming through very well. It's very light on my screen. Hopefully it's better on yours. That's the area of the text box itself, right? That's the kind of the background. I think in the library we call it the filled background is the default, right? And this blue box here represents all of the items that need to line up straight with each other, right? You've got the leading icon, the prefix text, the suffix text, trailing icon, and a clear button. These, I think, are all the standard material design elements that are in there. We're going to ignore the helper text and the counter for now because that's another thing to go along with it as well. Helper text, not the same as hint text, right? Just to clarify that those two things are different. Yeah, so blue grid encompasses all of those things. And then all of these things can have their size individually controlled from the calling code. So simply have vertical alignment center on all the elements with boxes, so they vertically align to the middle of the blue blocks regardless of their individual sizes. The idea here is what we've tried to avoid doing. Like, it's possible that we just expose up like this leading icon as our pack icon enum member, which kind of works, but it's a little restrictive. And most of the time in WPF, we have what are called content controls, like button is a great example that I always pick on, right? Normally, you just set the content of button to a string and you get some text on a button. Huzzah, you're off to the races. But if you want to do an icon in a button, this is where it gets really cool. Rather than just setting it to a string, you can just start putting arbitrary WPF content in that button's content property. You can do a grid with, an icon and maybe some text. And if you actually want to do a button inside of a button's content, you can do that. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Horrible. But you can do it is the thing. And so that's kind of the idea of some of these things can be controlled all the way out. And I think some of these we expose as primitives to avoid some of that nightmare, but some of them implicitly get controlled too, right? Like you can set font size, like a lot of the font properties in WPF inherit down the tree. So if you like set a font size or a foreground color at a top level element, that inherits all the way through. So it's great because you can set it once and be done. It sucks because it means now something else outside can start tweaking things. You can imagine something changes the font. I had a discussion earlier today where we were trying to do some font alignment, and the comment was, it looks great in Notepad, but it looks horrible when I paste it in my email. It's like, well, yeah, your email is using a non-fixed width font or monospace font, as they're commonly called, which at least on Windows, Notepad defaults to a monospace font. So it's real easy when you're trying to line everything up with spaces. You get a nice vertical line. It's gorgeous. And you paste it into something where that's not the case. It's like, yeah, and it falls over. And you can make Notepad look just as bad too. Just change the font. But same type of thing can apply here. Yeah. So these things can. So the blue box is elements that respect the text box vertical content alignment property, meaning that if you set the vertical content alignment property on the overall text box, this guy is defaulting to center. But if you set it to say top, they go to the top, bottom, etc. Stretch is the one that always gets interesting. Be curious what we do there. The blue box is the element that respects so that it can align with top, center, bottom. With vertical line with the stretch case, when the text box is also multi-line being the exception, this is an edge case that I think we need to discuss. Yes, exactly. Because I know people have different opinions on what they expect in this scenario. Yeah, so in this case, imagine a text box that is expected to enter 4 lines of text, for example, right? And you set the vertical content alignment to stretch, meaning the content should stretch to fill up that whole space, right? What do you expect the icon to do, right? Some people want top, some people want bottom, some people want center, some people want it to legitimately stretch. Let's see. Edge case in question, as mentioned, is when it's multi-line. And specifically, I think the big thing with multi-line is a big height, right? Multi-line is the common case where it comes into play. Because it's weird that you would have a single line text box and then set its height to like 200. Like, why? Why would you do, like, technically that's also a problem, but it's a case where it's like, why would you do that? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? If you want a single line text box, nobody's really, like, if people are changing the height on a single line text box, it's usually to get some alignment or sizing thing right. They aren't changing it significantly, right? It's up or down a little bit to make something look the way they want. Okay. Let's see, multi-line exception returns true, and vertical content alignment is stretched. In this case, the elements containing the text that the user enters is expected to align to the top, but allowed to stretch downwards to fill up the space. Okay, so meaning this thing would go to the top and start going down as the user presses enter to move to each subsequent line. Okay, let's see. In order to do this, would have to have vertical alignment stretch applied to it as a minimum. The red box with the user content should have a vertical alignment stretch to fill the space vertically. Yes. But what about the other elements? Yeah, so that's the thing. The text gets easy, right? If the user is entering multiple lines, we know how to render multiple lines of text. That's easy. But what do you expect to happen with the icon, right? If there's 3 lines, like this is user content, but imagine it says user content 1, next line user content 2, next line user content 3. Where do you expect these elements to go? Right? Should they also top align? And if so, they should probably vertically align nicely with the first row of text entered by the user. Yep, that's going to be interesting. Well, this may seem like a good approach. What if the icons have been set with non-default sizes? Aligning such that those elements vertically aligned to the first row of text can become a complex calculation per element. Yep. If the calculations are not done, the result could look something like this. Yeah. So so this is the exact problem, right? This is gorgeous. So here, right, we've got this guy and this guy line up nicely, right? But this guy here is this text here no longer aligns with the green elements, right? That top line just doesn't line up nicely. And then heaven forbid we start talking about the icons, right? Like the tops of the icons are aligned. That's great. But you can see this one's been shrunk. This one's been increased. And I think this one's probably still normal-ish. Yeah. If the calculations are not done, yeah, so fixed height set on the text box in this example, but that's irrelevant. Yeah, again, the same case I mentioned earlier. I don't know if I've ever seen a single bug where somebody changed the height of a text box and didn't make it multi-line. because it doesn't make sense. Where you can see there is no vertical alignment between the elements from the red box. Okay, I might have to reject that. So I can agree that the GitHub icon here, its top alignment is off, but the pre and post, boy, I would almost venture to say everything but the GitHub logo and the middle text isn't vertically aligned top. At least not in the same container. And icons get weird too, right? So here's the thing with icons in the material design library. We like to think of them as having a tight bounding box around them, but that is not always the case. This library generates our icon data from the material design icons, and some of them do not have a tight bounding box. And so there are times where people are like, the icon's not centered. It's like, the icon data is not centered, right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't transform it off a little bit, adjust the margin, whatever, right? Like, sometimes the icon does not have a beautiful bounding box. That's not something that we are likely to fix in this library because that data is auto-generated, and any change we make is just going to get overridden in their next release. So it's like, not going to worry about it. Not even going to worry about it. Because honestly, this seems close-ish, but let's keep going. Personally, I don't like this. If we were to align the elements vertically around the first row of text, I suspect we would end up with a bunch of complex converters, possibly even some negative margins and clips to bound false just to achieve what we want. Right? Okay. So the suggestion is to always keep the other red box elements, meaning these guys here, apart from the actual user content, and possibly prefix suffix text. Yeah, the prefix suffix texts are weird. And honestly, I don't know. Prefix suffix text doesn't make a lot of sense in multi-line content. Like, the prefix text is oftentimes like you're doing a currency symbol, right? Or something to that effect. I don't, or like the postfix suffix text is often used as like a denomination thing. Like you put in like pounds or something at the end, or ounces. Sorry, we're imperial system here in the U.S. For the rest of you, kilograms for the non-American audience people. And possibly prefix suffix text. See, I don't know if I would say spend much time on prefix suffix text on multi-line content. I don't know how often those are actually. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not good with metric. Which is weird because I feel like there's something. Okay, side story real quick. Some places, I live Washington State in the United States. So northwest corner of the country, and not that far from Canada. And many years ago, my wife and I took a trip to Canada, and there are cities in is it still British Columbia at that point? Because Canada is broken into various provinces. I believe it's British Columbia all the way through at this point. There's cities up there named like 100 Mile House, 150 Mile House. And I was an idiot. I was like, miles, Canada. No, they do everything. Those probably kilometers. Nope, they mean miles. It confused the living daylights out of me because I'm an American trying to, like, because I was on a motorcycle. I'm trying to mentally translate miles into kilometers so that I can, do, because the speedometer on my motorcycle only had miles per hour. So I'm trying to, mentally do some calculations in my head, figuring out, distance, gas, and all that. And yeah, that just messed with my head. It was like, everything else here is kilometers and just not that. Anyway, okay, vertically aligned center. Yeah, so so the prefix and suffix inherit the font properties. Most importantly, font size and probably font family, I would imagine, are the two big ones. Font family usually doesn't make as big of a difference, but some fonts are just like the glyphs are just bigger, like in size than others ones. So when you say 12-point font, it's 12-ish. Let's be clear. So like font authors get all kinds of crazy. Okay, so what am I hoping to achieve with this RFC? So if people aren't familiar with the acronym RFC, this is a common thing. It's very old school. It stands for Request for Comment. This is actually, you'll find people will reference specifications that are RFCs. And there's a whole process that things go through for that. Things like various like internet protocols and similar. I remember way back in school, we had to actually implement some RFCs. It was great and horribly boring. Let's see. I hope I provide enough details along with the code in the branch to give the reader an understanding of how I intend to structure the new text box styles. Yes. And I think gutting them and starting over is great. I'm looking for comments, feedback, pushback, critique. All is welcome. Excellent. That is the mark of a senior dev right there. Willing to take feedback. Okay. Let's see. This is just a first step because the second issue I want to address is actually the placement of the smart hint. Right, this is also done with a bunch of converter magic with magic numbers and a lot of bindings to make it complex to understand. So again, smart hint, think these guys down here, right? I don't know if there's not a picture. They're the hint text that shows up before you start entering text. And then in a lot of these, they float up to the top. One of the most problematic ones is this outline style because you want to float the text and line it up with this border outline. Yeah, that ain't easy. And right now it's done with a bunch of magic-y numbers and math to try to guess where it's supposed to go. Did I miss Valentine's Day? No, Izzy, you didn't miss Valentine's Day. I canceled on Valentine's Day due to it being Valentine's Day. I spent the evening with my wife instead, which was very relaxing and a welcome time off. Okay. Okay. Smart hint. This is also using a bunch of converter magic. But I doubt one thing can be fixed without making changes to the other, so I'll mostly end up making a PR with all the changes. Yeah, I assume this emoji here is likely for the size of what that PR will most inevitably be. I'm just going to assume the entire text box file is going to be a rainbow merge. Rainbow merge meaning lots of red and green in the diff, lots of it. Let's see. In that regard, should such a PR do the same as I am currently doing this parallel implementation rather than modifying the existing one? That definitely makes it easier to compare them, but it's probably not ideal to push the branch ideas. Yeah, that is a good question. So on big PRs like this, my preferred way of doing, like, I'm typically going to run new branch and compare against running of the old branch, just so I can see looks and behaviors. But yeah, so if you do it side by side, if they're not both shown in the demo, I mean, was it not today? I didn't get to catch up on all those YouTubes. Oh, no problem. No, sorry, Izzy. Valentine's Day in the United States is February 14th, so 1 week ago. Which you will note there was not one there. But I did spend a little bit of time. I realized I had neglected to post a couple of videos to YouTube. So if you were following the YouTube updates, you probably saw videos come out last week, which was great. It's just that was more an artifact of me being dumb, not videos being sitting there. If you run the code from the branch, you'll open up the demo app to the Smart Hint page where I've added new text box style at the top for comparison with the default ones below it. See, and Nikolai, if you want to do that and have them side by side, at least for the review process, I think that's fine. But I think the last commit then before merge will probably be nuking the old ones and replace with the new. Okay. So that's the premise. So that's the big long premise. Let's go run it. All right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, Visual Studio, I need you. That one, go. And assuming this works, we may go and powwow on a. I want to rev one of my projects to the 5.0 branch and see how painful it is. I'm hoping it's not too painful. Okay, so let's go here. We're on the demo app. Let's see. Nikolai said he changed it to launch to the right page, which I assume means my launch settings have been changed. Excellent. Fire it off. So for people who haven't seen it, there is this launch settings.json that is actually checked in to the repo so that if you want to launch at a particular page, you can just put the name of it here. Just because having to launch the demo app, always open the flyout, go to the page you want and click, that was like 2 whole clicks. And so naturally, we wrote code to fix those 2 clicks because you got to optimize for 2 clicks. Okay, sorry. I just changed branches before doing this. So I'm guessing Visual Studio is recompiling the universe real quick while it figures out what's going on. And I don't know, something's been up. The latest Visual Studio preview, I have seen more crashes than usual. And not bad, but there's something amiss. But that's what I get for running preview builds. That's what I get for running preview builds. Okay, and with any luck, if we have some changes, got a secret trick up my sleeve that I want to try. Okay. Okay. So the screenshot Nikolai sent was this bottom section down here. Oh wow. So this has been significantly improved. Ooh, I'm noticing something immediately. That I don't like that. Because that's like almost unreadable. I'm hoping that's a hard-coded thing. Yeah, only default is supported. I'm hoping that's not an indication of dark theme in 5.0. We may double check that. Okay, wow. So Nikolai went all out. So these are all of the old ones, I believe. Oh wow, he even included the horizontal content alignment stretch. I'm a little confused why these things don't show any additional styles. I'm willing to bet there's... Okay, we're going to go look real quick. I'm willing to bet there's clever, like... This was... The fact that Show Me the XAML's included here is probably an artifact of copy and paste. I'd be willing to bet. And I would also be willing to bet that there's some implicit style magic happening in here. Okay, so... Yeah, this is what I assumed was going on. Okay. So, let me show... I'll show off Nikolai's brilliance here. Only used to be able to fall back to the default styles. Let's see here. Only used to be able to fall back to the default style values. Oh, interesting. Okay. Text box variants. So what's happening here is there is a grid. The grid has a style that is targeting text box. And since this style doesn't have a key set on it, specifically like this X key, right? Its X key defaults to being the same as the target type, which then applies to all elements of that target type inside of here. So this grid then contains these text boxes. And so these, well, text box in this case, but this then automatically picks up this style, which is why Show Me the XAML only really acknowledges that there's one of these guys here. So in reality, the Show Me the XAML probably should wrap the whole grid, but whatever. Not like that's not the point of this. Okay, so let's play with these things real quick. So we've got the hint text here. Okay. Yeah, see, you can already see some of the weirdness that kind of comes at play here. Um Surprised we have. I didn't think the ripple was that pronounced on the regular text box. Now I'm wanting to go check the 5.0 release and see if this is something on this branch or if it's something different. Yeah, see, this is the really hard one. So watch. See, this hint here, that's ugly. Um is very difficult to position because you have to line it up right inside the line. And you'll note here, this is slightly different, right? And I think if we go and look at the material design spec, material design 3. At some point I'll remember the URL. If we go components and we go text fields, right? Yeah. So the thing is expected to line up inside of this line. And you'll note the material design, they've dropped this style out of their defaults. Specifically, I believe the argument was I think they used to call this like the underline style. And this one here doesn't look too bad because of all the extra elements around it. However, if you drop the icons, you drop the hint, you drop the helper text, all you have is a flat line. And I believe what they found is that was less intuitive to users, that flat line was a text input field. And so having that be common and default was not expected. Because if we go and look at, I think you can just flip the M3 to an M2 if I remember right. Yeah. I realize that's probably not the right page. But if we go text fields, I believe you'll see. Oh no, they dropped it here too. No idea why we have that one then. Now that may be something worth considering. Should we drop the underline as well, because it's potentially not that useful. Because this is designed for floating hint, but I'm wondering if maybe we should always have the filled and maybe just have the user the option of changing the filled color or something. So if they want to get rid of it, they can make it transparent and get back to the other behavior. Maybe worth doing that to kill off one of our, get us down to 2 rather than the 3. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily. It's the primary source of when we do specs, because there's a balancing act that happens here. So material design 2 is what most of the library is based on. We have started updating everything to material design 3, and at some point we may just cut over to material design 3, and if people want to keep the old M2 stuff, they have to stay on the old, because it gets really difficult to try to maintain everything. But I would say this is the driving force behind the styling, but we will break from it at times, because the problem here is the material design specification is around these components. And though these components sometimes line up really nicely with WPF components, they don't match exactly. And so there's times where we have to kind of deviate a little bit and go, yeah, that ain't going to work, because or maybe there's ambiguity in this, because a lot of this thing here, you'll note, they do call out, hey, here's all of the parts, right? And here's how they should be labeled, right? And you can see this label here and this input text, right? And the this inspiration, but you'll note this isn't exactly a spec, right? It defines the behavior and the look, but it's not a specification in so much as it doesn't say this is exactly how big things should be. There's a bit of freedom in here, and that's sometimes problematic. because with freedom means that there is stuff that needs to be figured out, right? It doesn't give you a lot of stuff. So a lot of what this specification is written towards is the developer consuming these components rather than the developer that's building these components. I think that's probably the easier way to say it. So yeah, so that's the setup here, and so in a lot of ways we try to mirror these and get pretty close. And you'll note they actually reference like a Figma kit. Ooh, because a Figma kit's a whole lot closer. Hang on. A Figma kit is a whole heck of a lot closer to a spec. Let me see. I don't remember if I actually have access in or not for this. Open in Figma? Let me in, please. No, yeah, great question. But yeah, it is definitely the one that we do. And you'll know a lot of these do favor, like even the Material Design 2 one, they would reference various implementations. And even among the implementation, there's a little bit of variance. Ooh, hello. We're cooking with fire now. Components. Ooh, hello. Hello. I haven't seen this before. Oh boy. Well, there's as close to a spec as I think I'm going to get. Wait, is this just... No. Okay. I was worried this was just one big image. Like, you've got to be joking me. You've got to be joking me. But this is actually fairly nice to be able to show. This is what it should look like. Yeah, because this is actually nice. I don't know as if we've ever... Show me the RGB for this. Well, look at that. Good to know that that's what the air color should be in. Oh man, I'm gonna... now that I know this exists, this is about to become my new best friend. But okay. Back to the actual topic at hand. We got a little distracted. I got a little distracted. Okay, so let's go into the bad case, right? Yeah, so this is where line 1, line 2, line 3, and you can already see one of the problems, right? Of this ugly little hint is now behind my line, which is clearly not where it's designed to be. Let's see. Line 1, line 2, I see the problem occurring again. Line 3. Okay. What plugin does those mouse highlights? Oh, great question. Great question. So I use Zoom It. This guy. This guy here. So if you get good, I strongly recommend looking over the hotkeys. It's really great, and I use it a lot just in presentations. The thing that gets missed a lot is that you can, so Control 1 defaults to the zoom. Control 2 just lets you start drawing. The important thing to note is that when you activate Zoom It, like here's an animated thing, right? When I do this, what it's done is it's taken a screenshot and overlaid it so I can draw on it. The backing thing is still animating. So there's a little bit of a weirdness there. It's not great if you want to overlay it on top of something with motion. But for drawing and zeroing in on things, I sometimes use it to just like pause something so I can take a quick look and like zoom in and then pull out. Like if somebody's in the middle of a screen share or something, sometimes I'll hit my Zoom It just to go in and like lock their code in place so I can look at it. and then I'll, escape to go back to the live view, i.e., what everyone else is seeing. Great trick. Okay. Got it. So this is where the offset starts to get weird. Because you can see the hint offsets moving around. Yeah, and you can see obviously that has now moved it way up and off, and this is where things have problems. So if we turn on has errors, I am curious. That doesn't look bad. That looks a lot closer. But I don't know what brush that thing's using, but okay. That makes me feel a lot better. Let's see. This must be a hard-coded brush, I'm guessing. Let's see. Okay. So nice. Nikolai, you do an amazing job at these demo apps showing them off. And if we turn off floating hint, you'll know this is just an artifact of how the smart hint works. When your toggle is floating, if you don't go in here and do it. And then if we kill the helper text, or that's the hint text and then the helper text. And then character counter is the other guy on the bottom. Okay, well, let's take a look at the code. Let's take a look at the code. So what do we got here? Boom. Let's see. Demo just has a bunch of stuff in here. Character counter, max length, great. Okay. Boolean to dash converter. Dash style. I thought we had a base class for doing some of this. Maybe I'm getting that confused with something else I've written. Started to notice that I've been getting my code confused of which project I've done things on. Trying to find some code to help a colleague the other day. I'm like, I know I've done this on another project. I just can't remember which one I did it on. Okay, content empty visibility. And this is slightly better converters because they get us into a situation where we aren't doing number magic. We're still having to do some conditional magic, but that's, I think, significantly better. Stretch replacement top. Okay, so I immediately like that better. Okay, so let's see what do we got here. I'm assuming the new smart hint, yeah. And then this is going to be a whole bunch of converter changes. Great. Okay. One other thing, Nikolai, that I think we want to try to make sure we adjust is not necessarily including these converters in the root of the resource dictionary. They end up getting exposed to apps that reference the resource dictionary and just ends up cluttering things. So I've started to favor moving them so that the library doesn't necessarily muck up somebody's app level resources. Okay. Okay, so what do we got going on here? This is, let's look at text box old. Okay, so that's just there. Text box new. I have a feel this diff seems a little odd. Oh, because I don't have all the commits in it. Let's add all the commits. That probably makes it better. Yeah, that's... Because now I'm guessing that smart hint new just shows, okay, good. Like it should be showing as a net new. There it is. Okay. Now it's showing it as a net. Okay, so the defaults got added in. Great, great, great. Those are what's expected. Converter namespace changes on a bunch. Great. Okay, so smart hint new. We're going to just circle back to that because I think I just want to look at it in Visual Studio. Text box new, I think, is also probably worth doing there. Okay, so bottom line dash to Dorner. Twitch streams for you on Git would be so welcome too. Thanks. Ooh. Okay. Shameless self plug then. Yes. And specifically, are there any particular Git concepts that you're interested in? Because there's a handful of ones that I have contemplated doing. Go here, and then I just got to show this off for a moment. So I realized something the other day. I make up a sizable percentage of Git Kraken's shorts, like a lot of them. So if you're at all interested in cloud patches, there's a whole bunch of them there. They're clipped from a longer video that the full video hasn't been posted anywhere. But I think if you plug all the shorts together, I think they've just about clipped them all together. Because I gave them the full video and they promptly dissected it into pieces and went to town. Because I think I did 30 minutes of me just plugging away on it or something. Rebase, etc. Okay. Yeah, that's actually one that ironically, I had two colleagues today both ask me a similar question on Rebase. They both had branches that they were working on. They're like, hey, the main branch has advanced. I know I've got some conflicts. Should I merge main back into my feature branch? Should I rebase? How should I go about doing that? And that is definitely something worth looking at. Okay, so the new Smart Hint has literally nothing in it. Excellent. And this is actually good, right? So what this means is the Smart Hint new control currently has no behavioral changes. Let's see. Format patch for sharing code changes without pushing changes. Good for creating IOCTO. Okay, Izzy, help me out. I don't know that acronym. Hang on. I'm Googling. Okay, I might need help. Google is not helping me. But yes, and actually the cloud patches are one of the things I was hoping to leverage for this, because I'm pretty sure Nikolai is a Git Kraken user, which means I can abuse that feature with him. Okay, because I'm sitting on his branch. Okay, so let's go look at the TextBox new one. What did I change in here? Why does it show me with a delta? Oh, it shows with a pending change. Oh, tool for custom. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so I was on the right thing. Got it. This thing. Yeah. Yeah, and actually a lot of the shorts that you'll find on that Git Kraken channel are all around their cloud patch tool, which is it is a tool that is it is cool as it sits now, but it's going to get cooler. There's a lot of cool stuff and ideas that they have of stuff coming for it. Maybe search or make as that is the builder tool. I want to learn something new. This guy. Oh, interesting. Okay. Please configure. Interesting. Okay, I'm adding this to my list. Thank you, Izzy. Okay. Something Smart Hint. Let's take a look here. Smart Hint new. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. This is the. I think this is basically the same at the moment. Yeah, there's nothing shocking in there. Let's go to the text box one. Okay. So we got this, couple merge dictionaries, And then we've got the new base. Oh, perfect. Yeah, so exactly what I was saying with the converters. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Um, so that is nested there. Helper text block is nested there. Very well structured. Nikolai gets huge points for this. Okay, focus states. And oh, nice. Wait. Wait. Is this actually Oh. Hello. Hello. Is this bringing the ripple stuff? Oh, nice. Heavily uses Git. Yeah. The other thing I will point out, because I can't help it. I can't help myself. Um this this learning here is an amazing Git learning tool. Now, it is put out by GitKraken, and they do show GitKraken as a way of visualizing what's happening, but it is largely around Git by itself, just straight up on the command line, and understanding how to leverage Git. So they, like I said, they show off GitKraken a little bit as a nice visualizer to understand it, but it is set up to go through and do command line understanding of Git, which is an amazing tool. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little biased towards GitKraken as well, and so I think it's worth it too. There was my colleague was trying to do some interactive rebasing stuff earlier today, and I was like, "Can I just do this for you real quick and get Kraken?" It was painful watching, painful watching. Uh, like this is so much simpler, and there are people who are insane wizards on the terminal, like absolute wizards. So I don't want to dock people who have done it, but especially for learning, I think to get to that level requires a certain amount of invested effort. And I think some people just want to use Git and have it get out of the way. I'll see myself out. Okay, this is kind of cool. Specifically, this is kind of killing off the ripple control. Yeah. That's okay. That's why the ripple looked a little funny to me. It's because it was a little funny, and it rather than using the old ripple control, it actually is so this is setting up a border with appropriate background stuff on it, and then the scale transform here. What is happening is when the visual state goes to focused, the ripple animates the x and the y scale from 0 to 1. So it does the whoop. Very, very nice. Okay. That is clever. Okay. And I doubt Nikolai has done this incorrectly because I've seen his code before. But when you're naming things inside of a template, just one thing to be aware of, it's very okay to do names like this if they aren't expected to be things that get referenced by the code for the control. Because in WPF, controls are lookless. You have your C#, your code behind that defines the behavior of the control, and then the XAML that defines the look of how it works. And oftentimes those two things need a reference between them so that they can, toggle things. And the way you typically do it is with well-named elements. Specifically, we saw that on, let's see. So you know what? Here, let's just solo the branch. Solo. Yeah, that'll work. Boom. See? Solo branch. Boom. And we're in. Okay. So for example, the smart hit new, this template visual state, this is one of the ways of communicating to the code behind, hey, these are the visual states that are going to be available that you should expect to be able to leverage. Uh, oh, this thing up here. It's not just great question, Victor. It's not just here. It's not just that. It does it in the C# too. This is I don't know whether this is a preview feature that exists in non-preview Visual Studio that you can turn on, or whether this is just something in preview Visual Studio. But this is under the preview features, and it is called, hey, JC, welcome. Where is it? And it was one of the things that got turned on by default in the preview Visual Studio. Microsoft really loves turning on preview features for people who run the preview builds. And so occasionally you install an update and just things look different because it's like, oh, new stuff, which is cool. It just sometimes your UI gets a little different. Where is this? Show available. Summary diffuse. Where is it? I don't see it in here. There is a feature for this, and I don't remember where it is. Like I said, it could be something that you only get in preview Visual Studio, and I don't remember what the heck it's called. I remember reading its name in some release notes at one point. But yeah, when it first came out, I was really on the fence whether I would like it, and I think the answer is I absolutely love it. Like, not having to scroll up to find your it takes a minute. It's like retraining your brain for different keyboard shortcuts because I'm not used to that. Yeah, thank you, Victor. I'm not used to looking there to see my context, and so I still scroll up a lot going, oh, let me go look that up. It's like, wait, I don't need to. It's right there. So my brain hasn't quite fully transitioned, but I'm wanting to like it. Yeah, it makes things way easier to read because you don't lose track of your context nearly the same way you would before. Yeah, absolutely. Less back and forth. The other thing that I don't know if a lot of people notice, there's this little icon right over here, right? If you grab this and bring it down, right, you can now have, right, top section, bottom section. Like, this is possibly one of the most undervalued features in Visual Studio. Like, it is awesome, right? You can split screen any file you want, right? Because the number of times you want to the number of times you want to be able to like see two different things, like this feature here is nice, but it only works for showing you context. Sometimes you legitimately just are like, hey, I want to see what that other thing is, right? And oftentimes we work around it by like docking windows and all that kind of stuff, and you know, top bottom things. Can it do vertical split? I don't think so. That's a good question. I don't think it can. I've never actually tried, but I've never seen it do that. Because there is that limitation. Like, if you just want vertical split between two files, you can always just do this. Like, this is a common, like, if I'm working in like a C# and a XAML file, side by side docking, yeah, that's gold, right? Beautiful. It's just grab the tab and drag it around. But within the same tab, it gets a little weird. But yes, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so this has got the scroll viewer to let that work. Smart hint new. Text block. And I realize most of this isn't what Nikolai was asking questions about. So this is a good example. When you name an element in a template that you want the code behind to be able to reference and use, the convention is it's prefixed with all caps part underscore. That's just a convention. Do you have to do it? No. Will it look funny if you don't? Yes. Because that's how most everything works. But it does make it look a little weird here, right? Because now you've got one thing that's named like this and one thing that's named like this. But again, if the element is only expected to be used and you just need a way to reference it because of like a binding or a storyboard or something, sticky scroll. Oh, is it? Oh, is it just straight up in here? Sticky scroll. Max. Okay. Visual Studio team, I want you to pay attention to something. Please stop hard coding your heights. This is annoying me. I'm so, because I run with my font size bumped up a couple points because I do so many presentations. You'll note my Visual Studio fonts all look a little big compared to what normal is, right? That's just a default setting that I go and always turn up to like a 14 or a 16 point-ish range just because it makes it easier for people to see. And I just got used to my fonts being big because I got annoyed turning them up and down all the time. I was like, like for a while I did profiles and that kind of thing. I was like, that's too much effort. I code this way naturally now, and it works. But the entire options dialog, dumb. Like, I do not like all of this. It's because it's hard coded. Don't hard code this stuff, people. Because it's hard coded and makes the assumption that nobody's going to change that font height. Yeah. So at least on mine, it is under Text Editor General, Sticky Scroll. But again, I'm on Preview Visual Studio. Your mileage may vary if you are not on Preview Visual Studio. There are a handful of features that don't show up if you aren't on the preview, because they use the preview to just guinea pig all the features on people. And for the most part, the preview builds are fairly stable. Like, I do my day job, I'd say like 98% of the year on Preview Visual Studio. There's always like a couple times where like something goes wrong or something isn't working right, and I have to fall back to regular Visual Studio for a week or two until the next update drops. And then, like, if it's a bad enough bug, it usually gets fixed right away. Like, occasionally it's like, oh, if you're doing, Razor work, the Razor engine is falling apart on the preview build because blah, blah, blah team has a mismatched reference or something, right? Like, there's so many working parts in Visual Studio. Occasionally things don't get aligned right. And that's just the nature of the beast. Okay, canvas top. It's interesting that this canvas is here. So canvas is an unusual control in WPF because it's a container control like a grid or a stack panel or similar, but it absolutely positions elements, which is cool, except for normally that's not what you want. I'm just trying to look and see what this is, because this is putting, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so, well, I'm confused, because this is just setting the top to 2. I'm curious why this needs to be a canvas. I'm wondering, now, admittedly, canvas is also a really, really cheap layout control, because all the other layout controls have to do like measuring to figure out where to position their child elements. Canvas is really fast because it doesn't think. It goes, you wanted me to go down by 2? Great, down by 2 it is, and off you go. So canvas is great for that. Oh, how did you do the blue sticky region in XAML? So tools, options, and then for me it is under, well, I just searched sticky. Text editor general, and then it's under sticky scroll. So that guy right there. And honestly, maximum sticky lines 100. No, we're gonna dial this down to like 20 because, okay, with my font height, right? How many lines are even in my text editor? I only have 65 lines even visible. 100 is too much. Like, honestly, 20 is, 20 is probably, 20. If it gets down to 20 with my font size on this resolution, it's taking up half my screen. At that point, it is no longer a tool, it is a liability. But yeah, and again, mileage may vary. If somebody is on non-preview Visual Studio, drop a post and let me know if it's in the same place in the options or not. Because again, I sometimes get confused as to what's available in regular Visual Studio because I don't use it enough. It is on my non-preview. Oh, cool. So you might just need to turn it on. Like I said, I didn't turn it on. It just showed up one day after an update. These conditions are fairly normal, and these are also floating through here. Character counter, outline text field. This is nice. I like the flattening of all of these things. So I will say this, Nikolai, the bringing of this in here so there's so many fewer elements is probably going to be great for performance as well. Because I know we already have some issues if people load up a UI with a ton of elements. Like even regular WPF has this problem. If you load up a window and you drop 400 text boxes on it, you are going to see a performance hit. Don't do that. Like, one, what kind of UI are you designing? Like I've seen people do it. They like generate basically a data grid by hand, and that's really bloody expensive. Don't do that. A horrible idea. Use a data grid or come up with a different UI. There was actually one thing that was interesting. I was having a discussion with some people earlier, and I made the statement that data grid is a horrible control for UX. Because I don't think it's that good in most cases, right? Because you basically get an Excel type experience, and unless you're building an Excel-like application, it's probably not the right UI. Like usually giving the user like a list with custom rows, you can give a more tailored UX experience rather than a data grid, which is a very generic experience. I say that, and we may look at a data grid app here in just a second. Then this just gets down to all the other styles. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's go back real quick. Back to the actual question at hand. Nope. I got too many windows open. This one. There we go. Okay, so point of discussion. Okay, so I think the big question here is that mine. Shoot. JC, I might need context. There's a slight delay between when chat shows up and on my stream, so sometimes I lose context quickly. Data grid app. No, I wasn't picking on you. It was actually my own budgeting application. But we were just discussing using data grid for things, and people are like, oh, we could just drop that in a data grid. I'm like, yeah. Like if your users are sysadmins, maybe that's fine, but like for like a good end user consumer type experience, I just like you don't see a lot of big mainstream apps using a data grid as their primary input control, and I'm pretty sure there's a reason. Again, something like Excel gets a pass because it's Excel, and Excel is one of the few apps released by Microsoft that rivals some programming languages because companies build ridiculous amounts of stuff in Excel because they can, and Excel can do an insane amount of stuff. Some filter. Okay, so given a layout like this, I think the big question here I think is to answer what to do with these red box items, right? As he calls them out, which are specifically all these extra elements along here, right? We've got that. If I go and turn them back on, the pre and postfix text as well. Because where are those? Oh, are those not in here? Text as trailing helper text. Oh, pre, post. Oh, yeah, sure. Right. I need a grades apps made for review. It gets status values every second. I think that was related to data grid. It's very possible. If you get a UI blinking issue, oftentimes that is related to um, it having to do a full layout pass, which usually means there's big updates happening in the back. Now, it may not be obvious that there's updates, but I've seen people do things like clear and reload their observable collections because they don't want to like merge old new data, but that causes full layout passes, and that's kind of expensive. And you probably shouldn't do that. So I think so. Okay, right. So given a text box like this, right? And if we do blue, right? I th- I think I don't mind on a multi-line text box these elements floating center, right? I think that's fine. I think the important thing is each of those blue boxes should be vertically aligned with each other. Assuming sizing hasn't been modified, right? If the user goes through and starts changing sizing on things, all bets are off. I'm mildly wondering if the user should be able to control it. I'm just trying to decide when they would want to control it. There's a potential argument to say, hey, maybe there should be an attached property that allows a user to control the vertical alignment of these, not necessarily individually, but maybe as a text box button vertical alignment or something. That way they can push it up or down. Stretch still gets a little weird. I think I like the idea of the pre and post floating in line with the first line up here, right? So they end up being here and here. And as you can see, my drawing skills need a lot of work. I think, and honestly, I almost wonder if the easy way to do that is if these things just vertically aligned top with this. And I think that's what Nikolai was saying here. Yeah. And I think the only thing that might, and it's really disappointing that all of this text is lowercase because I think they are aligned. Looking at this, I think they are like I think the top edges of these two bits of text may be aligned. The only reason I say that is the baselines look perfectly lined up. Right? Like that baseline looks real flat to me. So I think the baselines are actually lined up, which means the top edges are probably there. So I think I like this look here for the pre and post. And then letting the icons and everything float center, I think works really well. I think that's a happy compromise. And there may be an argument to let it go through and do. Let's see, is it possible to force a UI to have a double buffer similar to what old games did so I can update and render a section in the background and just swap out when it's already? Ooh. Not. So you can implement it yourself, but there's not a WPF isn't going to give it to you. So, like for example, I built a video player application that uses image controls, and it does do very similar to that double buffer type approach, but that was very much I've got multiple controls and I'm doing a swap. And it's particularly, I think that's a writable bitmap and it's blitting to the data. I'd have to go back and look, but there is a double buffer built into there. Yeah, WPF won't give you anything of that nature. And this is actually when people make comments about WPF's render performance, this is part of what they're referencing is because WPF is an abstraction on top of DirectX. And so DirectX definitely will give you that whole um, setup like what the games do. But it's not like WPF exposes much DirectX stuff up where you can actually manipulate it, right? We've got a handful of real generic type things with like how to render text and that kind of thing, but we've got very few. Like our render options enum, I think, is the closest. This guy here, I think, is just about the closest thing we get to having any control over the rendering engine. And it's not a lot. It's like barely anything, right? But you, with that said, you can kind of do a tweak a little bit, right? Like, so one of the key things that I've done in a lot of cases is avoiding raising property and collection changes unless they're actually needed. Right? Like this gets to be weird, like especially if you're pulling data from a database or similar, where objects are not the same instance, but they may contain the same data. Right? So you end up doing things where it's like, well, now I have to implement, like IEquatable on my objects so that I can tell if this new instance is the same as an existing instance in my list, and don't just like clear the collection and add new items, but only add the ones that are new and different, and try to do that intelligent merge rather than just a cleared relaunch. Yeah, and then avoiding property changes unless they're necessary. If you're using the community toolkit, though, the generated properties already handle that for you, which is kind of convenient. But I think those are the two things. The other option you can kind of cheat with, like you can technically with WPF have two views and just like swap visibility on them back and forth, right? And so you can kind of build your own double buffering thing, but by doing that, you've loaded up you've doubled your user control count effectively to be able to do that swap back and forth. So it's not always a great experience. But I have seen some people do that kind of stuff where specifically with like loading screen type situations, like you kind of do that a little bit, right? You put a loading circle over the top and maybe a blank thing, you build up all of your stuff in the back, and then you drop the loading screen from the front ish, right? So you kind like really poor man's double buffering. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna leave a comment here. Actually, you know what? I will type this later because I probably am going to type a lot more than what I should probably spend time doing now. So I will type that up. Okay. Next up on the chopping block then. I want to play with a repo. And I want to double check where it's actually at because I don't remember where I left it. Let's see. Fine. Have I really not done anything with this since then? Great. I appear to have not done anything with this. So this is going to be a very interesting. I don't know the state of this. That'll be fun. If anybody wants to follow along at home, I believe this is public. Yep. If it's not public, I'll fix that. So I will warn you, this is not a great app to look at if you want to see stuff. This is an app that reflects my learning over many, many, many years. I think this app is close to, I think it's close to 11 years old now. The Git history doesn't reflect its age because when it started, the source control was SVN on a self-hosted server that was sitting in my furnace closet. So It's older than what you would find on the GitHub history. Let's put it that way. Um, and you'll note there's weird things like MSIX. There's weird setups here. There's a lot of stuff. Like it needs love. But short version, it is a simple application used by me to manage my own personal family budget. And so it works great for the exact numbers of users that I am working with, which is me, and me. And so all of my users have a 100% satisfaction rate. We're going to launch this real quick. But I also use it to kind of dog food like material design updates and test things with it. So we're going to see what state I left this in. I believe it's working. I don't know where it's at. I really wish my Test Explorer window would stop opening on my other monitor at full screen. That's really obnoxious. Okay. Looks like it's working. Okay, so ignore the ugly colors. I've got a poundif debug in here that on debug builds, it goes to orange because occasionally, so debug builds, the theme color changes, and it generates a fake database for me, which is great. So all this stuff in here you'll see is completely faked. SVN, I have to use it for work. If only I could change to Git. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like Git. We'll say this. SVN was good. It was where I started, but I felt like once Git started taking off, most people saw the light and switched. Like there's a reason Git is like the ubiquitous source control. Like there are other ones out there. It's just that like Git occupies easily, I don't know, I'd say 70% of stuff out there. And the stuff that it doesn't occupy is usually older legacy stuff where people don't like the cost to convert. Okay, so we've got something like this. I clearly don't generate a transaction history. That's a little annoying. I should potentially fix that. But it's just a simple SQLite thing. What is this? What is this search box? Oh. Oh, it just doesn't update as I type. I have to actually like enter or lose focus to make it change. Okay. That's kind of weird. It really should have more stuff to it. That's bizarre. Okay. We won't anyway. So there's some stuff here. Anyway, short version, it's on material design. I think it's actually on ye olde material design. So we're going to test a 5.0 update and see how painful this is. Because I try to rev some of my apps up when there are new updates before publishing, just so if there's going to be problems, I get to see them first. Okay, so you'll note I'm on 4.8. So first of all, we're going to rev everything that I don't expect to be a problem first, and then wait, is this thing on net 7 or 8? Well, this is on net 7. Okay, so we're going to hold off on those updates. Test SDK should be fine. The behavior should be fine. Test adapters are fine to rev. So some Microsoft libraries, these ones are probably fine, but there are a handful of them. They version their NuGet packages where the major version follows the framework. And occasionally you do run into problems where the 8.0 version doesn't work on net 7 or similar. And so you have to be a little cautious because it's not like regular semantic versioning. What is going on? Let's see where it is. Yeah, we're gonna just make sure that this launches. It does. This project actually even has tests, so we can be good programmers and just run our tests. I don't know why I haven't turned Dependabot on. I should probably turn Dependabot on. Again, this project needs some love. It was actually the basis for my .NET templates. So it could probably use some template updates as well. Let's see. We can group in a more sane manner. Great. All the tests passed, so that didn't break anything. So we're gonna, before we get too carried away, save all. We're gonna come over here. Whoop, that's my OBS screen. Where did my I want my Get Kraken window. That one. Let's try this again. Okay, so package manager, centralized package management, nice and easy. Let's see, NuGet updates, net push, great. Okay, now let's net 8 the things. So a net 7 to net 8 upgrade should look roughly similar to that. That's exciting. We probably need to rev them all. Let's see. We do this. And we do this. We go save. We go build. And generally, with most .NET updates, that's about how hard it is. Now, there are breaking changes in net 7 and net 8. You should definitely check them. But in my case, I'm going to just trust my tests. So if my tests build and if the tests all pass, it means I compiled and all my tests ran. And I don't have like a huge test coverage, but I've got all the important stuff covered. So if this passes, it means I couldn't have broken it too badly. Okay, so net 8 upgrade done. That was horribly. Why don't you need to remove the version number after net 8? This guy here, that is a good question. I'm trying to remember. I'm mildly hesitant to remove it because I think I am referencing something in the Windows SDK, which is part of why I have the supported platform version, which is the only thing that's given me pause about just nuking it straight off. Because I think there was a reference in here to something that I was playing with, and I'm trying to remember what. Oh, this is on Skuraday still. I should update Develop-Pack. Add that to the list. Yeah. I may try dropping that a little later. It may not be needed anymore. This used to play with like MSIX stuff as well, which was part of it. Of needing to have a minimum version, but then I abandoned MSIX very, very quickly. Okay, so now we're just going to rev all of you guys up to the 8.0 versions. We're going to conveniently leave material design for the very end. Okay. Okay, so that should all work. Once again, we're just going to run tests one more time just to... We revved a whole bunch of NuGet packages. This is going to be one of the... If the material design upgrade goes this swimmingly, I'm going to, 1, be shocked, and 2, be remarkably impressed. Like, this would be nice. I don't have a lot of customizations or special controls in here, but there's a couple. Yeah, like this app manifest. I'm trying to remember if there's much of use. Okay, so all of those work. I'm just going to launch it real quick. Just sanity check. Just, does the app launch? We just changed the framework and all the NuGet packages. Like, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? Why is my startup time garbage? Oh, I bet you it's genning that database. That's probably why my startup time is garbage. Because I'm sitting here, there's no app up. There. Oh yeah, and I've got logging set to debug level. Yeah, so that's part of why my startup time sucks. Is my log level is set way too bloody high, and that's in here. Uh, bu- 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 Wow, why is it still going? Feels like it's in an infinite loop and just spinning. Let's see. Where is the? I thought there was a. Oh, and this has still got auto DI in here, doesn't it? No, I killed auto DI out of it, and this was the fix. Okay, so that's dead. Where is my? Is it in my main window or something? Where do I do my database revs? Yeah, so you see there's some stuff going on here. All of that's gonna die to Velopack. I don't feel like I'm missing something very obvious here. Nope, not that one. I'll take the non-generated one, please. What's going on? Something may. This is why you shouldn't start your app. Find bugs. Start. Trying to figure out where the heck the DB migration is. Oh, and that time it launches immediately. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if my seeder got itself wrapped around an axle. Okay, but short version, it does actually launch and appears to work. Let's see, Mountain Dew. Let's see, today, yeah, in the amount of I don't know, 21.50. Great, and that goes under. I don't know. Do we not? Does my generated stuff not have anything for food? That is remarkably bad. What I heard, utility sounds like a great category. Oh, why is that all that's showing up? I think in my yeah, there's something up. But short version, it's not related to that, so we are going to push those changes. Let's see. Let's go with net 8 upgrade. Okay, and now we do material design because we know this is potentially it's the 5.0 release. Give me previews. Give me the 5.0 preview. Yeah, if people didn't notice, the first preview of .NET 9 dropped already. Yeah, we're in February. .NET 9 is due in November. They've got preview 1 out. And I went, dear heavens, that is insanely fast. That is absolutely insanely fast. Okay, so that is in and that works. Great. Let's check the app.xaml because I don't remember how I was setting this stuff up. Okay, so we have the same bundled theme. That's great. We've got the defaults being loaded in. Great. That's all I need. See you, JC. Have a good day at work. Let's see. That loads everything there. That's great. We should leverage the style here that should get leveraged. So we're gonna just do material design window. So that'll take care of that brush, actually all of that stuff. That goes away. Okay. So I may have some brushes to go and track down. So we're going to launch this guy, and then we're going to go and look. Because that's the big breaking change in 5. Let's see. Couldn't find shadow depth. Yeah, oh, yep. This is elevation assist now. All right. BCD elevation assist, elevation. Then it's no longer depth 3. It's go and look in. Okay, so hang on. We're gonna open the trusty notepad and take notes. Okay, so document shadow this to elevation assist values. Okay, because I don't think we've documented which one's which. So we're gonna make sure we cover that. Why did I override my drawer host like this? Huh. Oh, because I wanted push behavior. I don't know if I need that anymore. Oh. Okay, so let's go here. Combo box classic mode. That doesn't exist anymore. We don't actually care about it. And actually, I think I could do... Oh, that's yucky. Okay. I need to bring in my XAML styler thing. I need to apply my template. That's what I should do. Apply my template to it. We'll go here. Here. I think that gets me... Oh, one more. I was using classic mode on the older material design before we redid the combo box. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm just getting emails that my build failed. So there is... Okay, so we've got some resource names there. I'm going to just check this because this is probably... Yeah, I'm going to go with the most likely explanation is that my pipeline isn't updated for net 8. So fix that. Okay, so which resource were you unhappy about? Navigation rail tab control. Okay, well, conveniently, I've got the material design library open. Let's see. Check out where this is. Tab control base, don't care. Build tab. Have design item. Navigation rail. This is what I'm looking for. Navigation rail tab control. That guy. Oh yeah, the spelling mistake. Spelling mistake. Let's see, where is that? We're gonna document that as well. And put the new value in. Apparently did not copy the new value. That was... Okay, so that is just stupid. That should fix that. Okay, relaunch. This is going to be good migration document. Okay, what is your problem here? Floating action accent button. That I'm aware of. Because that was renamed. We killed everything with accent to secondary. I believe that one's already covered, but we are going to confirm. Go button. So I think if I go in here, let's see, what was it? Floating action. Actually, why don't I just launch the demo app? It's probably just as easy for me to find it there. Probably the easier way to do this. Oh, I'm still on Nikolai's branch. That's fine. That's fine. It's based on latest. We'll be fine. The buttons. Okay, so we are looking for floating action accent button. I think that's here. Floating action secondary button. That is a rename there. We go back to our app. Let's go here. Boom. Tab, 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 tab. Relaunch. The nice part is most everything is on one like tab page. So click, 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 and you can kind of catch them all. Let's see. Shadow assist is once again not a thing. Let's just hunt shadow assist. Let's see here. Where are we? What is this? Right in. This is the push drawer host. I thought. Let me look. I don't know if I need this anymore. Um. Yeah. So I can kill off my entire template in favor of just setting open mode standard. Because the whole point of this is for the thing that slides in from the right. So I think we just let's hunt the usage of this because it should only be used in one place near the main window. Yep. So we don't need this anymore. And then I think what we do is we just set open mode standard. Done. Oh, I still need to get. Well, I guess it's probably not going to trigger now. It's unreferenced. I should kill it. With that, the app now launches. I'm immediately noticing we've broken something with grouping on the list box. That caused me some mild amounts of concern, but that's okay. So let's. Okay, so we're going to kill off this guy because he's not worth my time anymore. Okay, so that just dies because it's now implemented in the library, as it should be. Okay, so let's go back. Make me a list of things that appear to not be working right. Right, so I've got group headers. Oh, somebody was referencing, aren't they? Yeah, kill that. Okay, so group headers appear to be broken. We'll see if that's a style thing or if that's it's probably just a mismatch thing, because the other thing I want to do is pay attention to this guy here of anything that doesn't work there. Okay, so no binding errors. That's a little shocking. Interesting. So that's working as designed. It is, in fact, pushing. So when I close this, okay. Interesting to me that those animations seem to be 0. I could have sworn we had animations. Yeah. What have I done to break the animation? That should be doing that. That's weird. Lapse. Tab control. Interesting. So the drawer host is there. There's not a lot there. Right? There's the Oh, it's probably the way I'm opening this. Toggling the bool likely doesn't trigger the animation. It probably just sets it directly. I bet you that's the difference. These set the bools? Looking to see how this is actually set up. Let's drag this over here so my big head isn't in the way. Okay, so we've got the drawer host style. It's all well and good. We've got some drawer content. These are using the relay commands. I bet you without the commands. Okay, so uh drawer host properties don't here to trigger animations. Okay. Okay, well the only visual problem I see, I'm a little concerned that I don't see the transaction I added last time showing up in here. That's a little weird. It should be a persistent database. Which is kind of unusual, but whatever. So there may be some data issues here, potentially a data migration problem. That's I guess possible. I could have an old database. I'm bad about my migrations. Okay. Let's figure out these group headers. So, not you. Here. I want to figure out what I have messed up because the code was working for that before we got into here. So there's a dialog host. Let's see. Control. None of these. Where is my main content? Oh, it's got to be inside the drawer host, right? Tab control. This is all the guys. Okay, and specifically, we've got all of these rail items. Great. And so over here, I should have a view for the budget view, I believe is what this guy is. And as you can see, I am really bad about hard coding stuff, but you know what? We're doing it. Because I wanted this. Okay, so these are all just data templates. Where is my... Looking for the collection control, because I believe it's a list view. List box. Item container style, list box item. Is hidden. Group style. Group style, hide if empty true. Okay, so the interesting part for me, so this is, okay, so it is, the groups are there, it's just the, oh, it's just the brush. Oh, okay. Okay, so I should probably hunt. So this is the brush rename, primary hue light brush. This changes to, I don't remember the bloody brush names. Theme. Those are the base theme colors. I want the, well, hold on. Is that not what I want? No. I want the actual, where's the theme class? Theme. I have my generated guy. Yeah. Oh, but that's not what I actually want. I actually want the colors repo. Because you've got your primary and secondary colors, and that's what I'm most interested in. Yes, there we are. That's why I'm confused. Okay. So, for example, recommended primary. Yeah, so this is the new naming scheme. Okay, so I need to change primary hue light brush. Primary light. I would like that brush. Boom. Primary hue light foreground brush. Primary hue light foreground brush. Goes there. And we're just going to hunt the word primary. See how many of those show up. Don't care. Migrations. Wow, that feature is really bad if you get it at the wrong height. So bad it is hanging the UI. Excellent. I was worried it would work flawlessly. Okay. So pro tip, the sticky scroll is not great in all situations. Okay, so primary doesn't net any. Okay. Secondary. Okay, and then accent, none. Okay, so mine may be a real simple upgrade, and it might just be the brush. Okay, now we're back into working state. Great. Okay, I do kind of want to fix that drawer host issue of it not animating. So let's, one, we're going to commit this. The MDX 50 upgrade. So mostly painless, and I didn't need to use the shims library. That's pretty good. Okay, now I want to go back to material design really quick, and I want to check the drawer host. Let's stop soloing. Go back to master. Create branch. I guess we don't need to create the branch yet. Nope, you're not the material design repo. You are. Okay, so I would like to test my theory with the drawer host that it doesn't push if you toggle the button. Let's go here. And I want to look at, do you have a view model to bind to? You do not. That's disappointing. Okay. Let's see here. An interesting failure. There's a designer failure on that button as well. Okay, so kind of want to just give myself a toggle and play with it. Go up here. This is background toggle. What are you bound to? Right. Interesting this brush hasn't been updated yet. Apparently I did not go through and do this on the demo app, and I'm using the shim library. At least I assume I am. Otherwise, this guy ain't doing jack. Let's fire this up and see. Well, I also see a secondary hue light brush, so there's... Oh, this has to be using it because we saw the bright green on the bottom. So this thing must be used in the shim library. Yeah. Close all. Open mode standard. Close all. Okay. So what I would like to do is give myself a toggle button. X name open left. I don't know. Content open left. What is the... Okay. Oh, this is going to default to a switch control, so that's fine. That's fine. We'll just do that. And then I would like to come down here and go with is left drawer open, binding is checked. And we're going to go with element name, open left. Boom. Okay. Now, what I expect to happen is when I click my toggle button, the drawer to come out, but it not to animate. And this is probably a pre-existing issue, but my app had a custom style that did it properly. And darn it, I have that in source control. I can go pull it back if I need it. And I realize my one user is going to be very disappointed without that feature. So That works flawlessly. But why is mine not working? Why is mine not working? Is it the content? Is it the size? Okay, so now I'm curious as to why mine is not working properly. Okay. We have a trigger. It's specifically on is right drawer open. So let's maybe just work our way into something that resembles my code a little more. Okay, so we're going to go in here. Go. There's already a style, but I want triggers that look like this. Let's see. In here, we're going to do a trigger, and we're going to pull this setter out. Don't need a second set of triggers. We just need our trigger. And we're going to change this binding to be more akin to this. This binding is going to look like this. And this value is going to be false. So now rather than a direct binding, we're going to have a style trigger. It's basically going to function the exact same way. Right? Thing is going to default to true. When the switch goes to false, it will set it back to false. Let's see if that does anything different. Oh, and I'm seeing another brush that's wrong. And a bunch of brushes that are wrong. How did I not? Oh, I'm looking at, never mind. Looking at the material design one. Need to remember. At some point, those things will need to get changed. Animates perfectly. Okay, why is mine not animating then? Because mine should be doing the exact same thing. Open mode standard. Got a style on it. Right? I mean, is it something to do with the way I'm doing my content binding? Let's test that theory. Let's see. Text block testing. Well, let's run that. See if it has something to do with the content inside of it. Because clearly it works in the main app, which means it's not likely a library problem, it's a me problem. Okay, so that actually opened. I didn't leave my way to close it. How about button content margin? I don't know, 100. Make it big. And static and material design. Material design. Let's see, drawer host, and then we're gonna do the close drawer command. Needs a command parameter. Let's see, static of doc. Right. Okay. That should now give me a button that's big. Okay. When I do here, oh, So the problem is my style. This may close it, but it doesn't fix the fact that the backing property is not being unset by clicking that. Okay, so regardless, that somewhat addresses the problem. Is I'm wondering if I can fix this with a delay. I'm wondering if I can fix this with a delay. I don't know if I can because we're going the other direction. This is an interesting one. Oh, I didn't put the other stuff back, so that's a really bad test. Try this again. No, yeah, it's related to my triggers. Interesting. Okay, so the way I'm doing this is kind of hacky, and I should probably just address that, and then the animation problem goes away. Okay, but short version, aside from a little documentation in the library, Net 5 upgrade works. So that makes me happy. Makes me very happy. Okay, so that is good. I have at least one thing to document. Well, I've got 3 things on my list of documentation things to do. So some spelling errors, the style changes, which I believe are already documented, and then the shadow assist, elevation assist. We'll get that in and done and then get it going. So I think with that, I'm going to go get some replies typed up to those items we looked at and see how far things get going. So thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out. Looking forward to seeing this. Based on the request, maybe next week we do some, call it some Git stuff. That sounds kind of fun. I used to do one of those every October for Hacktoberfest, but kind of strayed away from it the last couple of years. So probably overdue. There's a lot of cool things in Git Kraken. But at least even just talking the theory of Git and when to do a rebase, when to do a merge, pros and cons of each. I like that idea. Kind of like it. So thank you for the suggestion. Might go that way next week. So as always, happy coding. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Talk to you next time.